Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This time we will see the CLI rsync, and as always you can follow with me and try the command I'm trying on my computer for you to learn more easily, or just to remind you what are the most useful commands and options you can use with rsync. You can download the files in the description of the video to just having the same files as I have. Okay, so what is rsync? It means remote synchronization, and it's very useful to copy files over your local computer to your local computer, or from a remote computer to your local computer. You can as well copy files or folders from a remote to a local. So basically what you can do is copy from local to local, from local to remote, from remote to local. But what you can't do is copying from remote to remote. rsync can't do that. So when you copy files from a remote or to a remote, most of the time you will use SSH, which allow you to create a encrypted tunnel between two computers. So why using rsync, you might ask? It's a very, very powerful tool. It's very flexible with a great number of options. And the biggest strength it has is that you can compare your source, so the file you copy, to the destination, the file you copy to. And if the same file exists in the source and the destination, they are not copied. And by default, rsync uses an algorithm which is called the quick check algorithm, which will compare between the source and the destination every file's size and every file's modified time, and it will decide regarding those two data if it needs to copy the file from the source to the destination or not. You can use comparison based on the checksum of the file too. You don't have to use this quick check, but I mean, I never used anything else and it works very well like that. rsync, I think, is most useful for backups, for example, when you want to mirror a source like folders and files and a destination and having exactly the same thing in both ends. And it's very useful as well if you have a remote computer, like a server, for example, and you want to copy or backup a bunch of files. You want to copy a very simple website, for example, and you don't want to use Git, or you don't want to use alternative tools. In that case, you can use rsync and it will do the job. So how does it work? What's the general pattern of the CLI? Well, if you want to copy from local to local, you can simply do rsync the source and the destination. If you want to copy from local to remote, it's a bit different. Destination. It's a bit different because, for example, if I want to copy from my local, so local source, let's say, to my destination, it will be something like address of the remote computer. So when I say address, it's the IP address and the destination file or directory. So it's basically the basic pattern of rsync. And here you can see that I have two folders, source and destination. Again, you can download them from the description of the video. and if you run tree on them, you can see that destination has nothing in it. It's an empty directory, and source has directories and files as well, and normal file, let's say, and as well a symlink, my file, which is symlinking to my file. Good. So now that we have the basic pattern of rsync, let's look at the option. So without any option, first, let's try to rsync a file from source into destination. And you see that there is no output, you don't know what happened. You don't know if the file was copied to destination. Of course, you can do tree destination, and you will see that my file was indeed copied into destination, but there is no output, which is not that good, I think. So the first option I use all the time is -v for verbose, and let me delete the destination file. So if you do exactly the same command, but you add -v, this time you see that my file was copied over, and you have other data like how much was sent, how much was received, the bytes per second, the throughput. So it's practical, and at least you have some return, you know. So again, let's delete what we copied into my destination. So what if we want to rsync a folder? Let's try that. Source, my folder to destination, and it doesn't work. rsync told us that it's keeping the directory my folder. Let's try to add -v, and we don't have that much more information. It's keeping the directory my folder. Why? Because by default rsync doesn't copy directories. You need to add the option -or, and in that case, it will copy the folder and every subfolders recursively. That's why -or for recursive. So as I was saying, rsync can be very practical to back up every file you have from a computer, remote or local, to another computer, remote or local, and keep really everything from the files and directories you're copying. So let's see if we really keep everything if we use rsync like that. If I do rsync -v source with my file to destination, everything was copied, and if I do an ls-lah on source, you can see that my file has the permission 777, which is everybody can do everything with this file. But if I do that on the destination, you can see that the permissions are not the same. Here, the first column is all the permissions, and they are not the same as my file in my source folder. So how to have exactly the same permission from one file to another? In that case, you can use -p for permission, of course. And this time, if you do ls.-lah on source and on destination, you can see that here we have exactly the same permissions between my file in both destination and source folder. Alright, so let's put the options here for easier remembering. So -v is verbose, -or is recursive to copy directories and all subdirectories, and -p is permissions. What about symlinks? What if you want to copy symlinks from your source to your destination? Let's try that. So if I rsync source my folder to destination, well, it skips because I forgot the -or, and let's add -v as well. And now if I do an ls on the source and on the destination, there is one thing missing in the destination, which is a symlink, because by default rsync doesn't copy any symlink. For that you need to add another option, which is L for symlink. And let me first delete everything in destination, and then we can add -L or just L like that. And this time, if we compare both, it works, but you can see that the symlink here is broken. Because, of course, the file in the destination doesn't exist. Because you can see here, if I do ls source, I have my file and my folder. If I do ls destination, I have only my folder. And this symlink is pointing to the file, my file, which is present in source but not present in destination. That's why it's red here, because the symlink is broken. I can copy, of course, source my file to destination, and this time both symlink work because destination has my file as well. So it's something you need to be careful with. When you copy symlink, you need to copy the target as well, like we just did. All right, we copied the permissions, we copied the symlink, we copied the directories. What about the change, the time change, or the different timestamps an inode, which is linked to a directory or a file, has? So if I do again an ls on both files, you can see that the time are different. The time of modification here from another file is different from the one from the source. So what if I want to copy exactly the same timestamps from the source to the destination? Well, first let's clean again everything from destination. And second, to have exactly the same timestamps from source to destination, you need to use -t for time, or timestamps if you want. And if I do that, then I need to add OR to really copy everything. And if I do my ls -lah on both, you can see that I forgot -L, that's why the symlink wasn't copied. But what is interesting here is, as you can see, the timestamp from the source and the destination are exactly the same. So basically, what you should use is something like that. And for the permission, so it gets pretty complicated at one point, and it's something you will use often with rsync, because we use rsync most of the time to really mirror, as I was saying, directories from local or remote computers. So what is good with rsync is that it has -a, which is the shortcut of -vl or pd and others. To be more precise than that, -a for archive, which means that you want to archive something, is the equivalent of this list of options, or set differently, something like that, written differently. So that is exactly the same as rsync -a. So in there we saw -or, -l, -p, -t, but not -g, o, and d. -g is for keeping the group from one file or one directory to another. O is for keeping the owner. And D is for transferring block device files to recreate this device. So if you're not aware of block devices, it's basically special files in Unix systems which represent devices like a hard disk or partition. And it can be recreated with rsync if you have minus uppercase D. So basically, most of the time, what you need to use with rsync is minus A and V. And it's nice to know exactly what minus A means because you know how rsync will behave. And we can try, of course. Let's clean again, as always, our destination. And you can do rsync minus A, source, everything to destination, and then a tree on both source and destination. And you can see that everything was copied, symlink, folders, directories, sorry, and everything else. And if you do ls minus lh on source and destination, you can see that the timestamps are the same, the owners are the same, the group is the same, permissions are the same. So minus A for archive is really, really nice to copy, to mirror really what you want to mirror. Another nice option I encourage you to use mostly all the time is minus Z. And it means you will compress the data from the source to the destination for the transfer to be faster. It doesn't really matter on a local computer, but if you have a remote computer, it means that you have the network between you and your remote. It can save a lot of time, especially if you have many files or if they are very, very big. So we can try that. Let's delete everything to my destination, and then the magical set of options with rsync is minus avz for me, where you can copy everything from source to destination, and then, well, you have everything you want copied exactly like you want, mirroring each other. It's really nice. You can, by default, I don't remember, but rsync use a given compression algorithm, but you can change it with the option compress choice. And I don't remember what choice you have. I'm not sure my completion will find some. No, not really. But you can look at the manual of rsync to see the different compression choice you have. And in general, anyway, I encourage you to go to the manual doing, man rsync. Or if you use Vim, you can configure Vim to open the the manual page into Vim, which is really nice. And compress choice, you see you have the choice between ZSTD, LZ4, or none. But I don't know what's the point to use minus Z in that case. I really encourage you to go in there. It's a really good manual page, actually. Another very useful option I wanted to show you is minus delete. Because right now, even if I said the contrary, we don't really have a mirror between source and destination. Why? Because if I create source, my folder, useless file, if I create a new file like that, and then I rsync, I don't remember if I have something in destination. Yes. I want to delete everything from destination. So now, if I rsync, as we saw, source my folder into destination, well, everything is working as expected. As you can see, my folder from source was copied indeed in destination, and the symlink is broken because I didn't copy my file. Now, if I delete source my folder useless file, and I do an rsync again from source my folder to destination, do you think useless file to destination was deleted? We can look at it, and no. Even if in source there is no useless file anymore, it still exists in destination. So it's still not exactly a mirror, because whatever is deleted in my source my folder is not deleted into destination my folder. So to make it happen, you can use rsync -vz -delete, and this time everything which is deleted from your source will be deleted as well from your destination. Source my folder destination. And this time, if you do a tree destination, you can see that there is no useless file anymore, and in source, of course, it didn't exist, so it's not there either. So it's really important, and it's really important as well to understand that when you begin to use minus delete, you need to know what you're doing, because maybe you don't want to delete whatever is from your source directory to your destination directory. It's an operation which can cost you a lot and can delete some stuff in your backup you didn't want to delete at the first place. That said, if you exactly want the mirror from source to destination, you need to use minus delete. If you begin to use minus delete, I encourage you to use another option, which is minus dry run. What minus dry run does, as you might guessed it already, it will just simulate the copy and everything rsync is doing. So for example, if I do rsync visit source everything to destination with minus delete, why not, and minus dry run, you can see that everything looks okay, everything was copied to destination, except that here you can see there is dry run, which means that at the end nothing was done. It just gives you a preview of what will be done if really you will run the rsync command without minus dry run. And if I do ls on destination, you can see that there is nothing in there. So it's really practical, this dry run, to really verify before you're doing something that it behaves as you imagine it. Now, if I, of course, delete the dry run option, this time there is a lot of stuff in destination. So I forgot to add on the right everything we saw till now, but we can do that now. Minus L, which is for symlink, to copy from the symlinks from source to destination. T to copy the timestamps. Times A for archive, which is the equivalent of this. And what else did we see? Yeah, the minus Z for compress, which is really important. Minus to delete, deleted files from source. Not sure it's very understandable, but I mean, we just saw it, so I'm sure you understand. And dry run, which is perform a dummy run. Dry run. All right, let's see another couple of options. The next one is minus exclude. As the name indicates, it can allow you to exclude some files or directories. So if I do rsync source avz minus delete, why not, source to my folder to destination, but I want to exclude everything which begins by my, so basically everything. It doesn't send anything because I excluded my folder doing minus exclude my and then a wildcard. So yeah, at the end of the day, it won't copy anything. So let me look at my folder here. Yeah, let's do that. It will be more. So if I want to exclude another file, I can do that. Or even if I want to exclude everything which is another something, and or you know, you can use the normal shell pattern, which is wildcard, question mark, and character class. You can use that here, and what it will do, it will copy everything into destination, except, of course, another file. As you can see on the screen. The same way you can use minus include, which is the contrary. Basically, if you want to include some other files somewhere, you can use that, and you can even use include from file, and from there you can write a file with every single file path you want to include. And you can as well do that with exclude from file, and the same, you can give a file as argument and as value, sorry, to the option, and then you can write in this file on each line what path you want to exclude, and it will exclude them. Right, let's do some exercises. At that point, you can pause the video if you want and try to answer the little question I ask you to see if you remember what we saw in this video. So let's hide the solution, of course. So the first exercise, how to copy everything from source to destination except the folders. How do you do that? Well, it's pretty easy. First, I want to be sure there is nothing in destination. There is nothing in destination. So here you can pause the video and try to answer the question, and here's the solution. You can do rsync source everything to destination, and it will skip the directory my folder, and if you do ls on destination, you will only have the file my file. So it skips the directory and everything inside. Another question for you, if you want to, of course, how to copy everything and be sure that the files and directories copied are exactly like the file from the source. So you want to mirror and you want to be sure that files and directory copied are exactly the same. Here's the solution. You can do rsync -a for archive. Let me delete everything in destination first. Rsync -a, source everything to destination. I mean, you don't have any output, which is a bit sad, but it wasn't asking the question, so that's fine. And if you look at destination, you have everything apparently. Yes, you have everything, including symlink. By the way, something interesting to note, -a will copy absolutely everything except hard links. So if you want to copy hard links, you need to use -h uppercase for hard links. Makes sense. All right, another question for you, and the last one. How to copy everything and be sure that the files and directory copied are exactly like the file from the source, while having some information about the transfer, delete the file if they are not existing in the source, and compressing the data. We want basically everything we saw almost. So for that, let's clear again destination. We want -a to have a mirror of every files from the source to the destination, v for having some information about the transfer, z to compress the files, and to delete the files as well, we need -delete, and if you use -delete, you should first use it with -dry run. It's always better. I mean, if you didn't do it, that's fine. But try to think about it, because CLIs are very powerful, and sometimes it drives you to do some stuff you didn't want to do, so be careful. And I want to copy everything from source to destination. And now if I look at destination, I have nothing because it's a dry run. I forgot about that already. So, I mean, you look at the file, it looks good. I'm copying all of that, so let's delete the dry run. And now if you do a tree of destination, this time everything was copied. All right, so let's speak about how to transfer from one local computer to a remote computer. So the transfer from local to local, we just saw it, but I mean, rsync is really powerful when you have a remote computer and you want to copy stuff there. I mean, local to local can be very useful, and I use it myself to do some backup, for example, on external hard disk. So how to copy from local to remote? Here, I'm on a remote server. You can see that with the red prompt, with a red arrow. Here I have a blue arrow, which means I'm on my local. So if I want to send files, maybe I have already files. Yeah, I have already files in there on my remote computer. If I want to send file to my remote, I can do that. And then, as we saw here, I need the address of the remote and the destination, which is the file path. So, first, I need the address, so the username of my remote computer, the IP address. Then I add colon, and I want to copy my file from source to documents rsync, which is this path. If I do that, it takes a bit more time this time. When you look at it, here I have 90.67, and here the speed is, yeah, you can see that between both, doing copy from local to local is of course way faster, 10 times faster actually than going on a remote, especially since my remote, my connection to the remote is quite slow. So we can look at the remote here, and now we copied my file from my local computer to the remote. What if I want multiple files from my local computer to the remote? It's easy, you just add other files. Source, my folder. Oops. For example, if I want to copy the old folder, and everything was copied again, it was faster this time. And here you can see I have my folder too on the remote computer. Magical and super useful. I mean, I'm using it as well to, for example, deploy very little websites, like my portfolio is only a bunch of HTML files, and instead of using, I don't know, anything like Git or stuff like that, I'm just using rsync. I have a little script, and yeah, it does the jobs well. So now we saw how to copy from a local computer to a remote computer. What about if I want to copy something from my remote to the local computer? It's pretty easy, except that you inverse both the source and the destination. So you can do rsync minus abz. This time you begin by hypnos and the old address, and I want to copy from home hypnos, which is my username, documents, rsync. Let's say, I don't remember what was the name, my remote file. And I put a dot here for the destination, or I could put as well destination to be more clear. So I will copy the file, my remote file, from my remote host to my local host, my local computer, in the destination folder. If I do that, and I look at my destination, I have indeed here my remote file which was copied. Very good. Let's delete everything from destination. And what about you want to copy multiple files from your remote? I mean, it begins to be a bit cumbersome because you need to repeat again, you know, the name, your username on your remote server and blah blah. What you can do as well is just use a colon without the address of the remote host and give what you want, like the file path. Document rsync my, I don't remember the name, my other remote file. And if you do that, rsync will understand that the host is the same as the first file, which is a bit better. So now I copied the two files, my remote file and my other remote file, on my local computer. Pretty easy. Alright, that's all for today. Thank you a lot for watching. If you like the video, as always, you can click on every button on YouTube, especially the like button and the follow button and whatever buttons there are there. It would help me a lot to develop a bit my YouTube channel and to help more people. Thanks a lot for watching. I wish you a great rest of your day.